Russia to cut German gas supply. Russia has gradually decreased fuel supplies to Europe since the start of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, highlighting the fact that gas is likely its most valuable energy resource in the geopolitical scuffle that preceded the invasion. While the EU and some Western allies agreed on a ban on Russian coal imports and a comprehensive halt to oil delivery, the bloc has rejected a ban on natural gas imports. Given that replacing Russian pipeline gas in the short term is significantly more challenging than finding alternate sources for coal and oil, several member states are too dependent on gas to withstand a sudden suspension in supplies. Therefore, a suspension of gas trade with Russia might have serious economic repercussions for Germany. Germany and the EU were forced to make preparations for a sudden supply reduction after the Russian government announced a stop to gas sales to several countries. Early in September, Russia announced that Nord Stream 1, one of its primary gas supply pipelines to Europe, will remain closed indefinitely. So, what role does gas play in Germany's energy system? In the first half of 2022, natural gas accounted for around 27% of Germany's total energy consumption, primarily for industrial and heating needs, and to a much lesser extent, 15% for the generation of electricity. Since the invasion, Germany has been able to quickly reduce Russia's portion of the gas supply, from about 55% in February to about 35% in May 2022. However, it still has a tough time finding alternative suppliers to take over the remaining share. Despite increasing their export levels, other significant providers, including the Netherlands, Belgium, and Norway, are unable to completely cover the void left by Russia. German industrial enterprises have long benefited from cheap gas from Russian pipelines, since it allowed them to operate more cheaply and become more competitive. Due to its considerably lower CO2 emission, gas has thus been viewed as a bridge technology to enable the phase-out of both coal and nuclear power until renewables can sustain the entire energy system. Despite repeated requests from Western allies to cut off one of Moscow's most vital sources of income, both Russia and its major gas customers in Europe initially maintained that gas trading will not be hindered by sanctions or other war-related measures. Western importers were disturbed by Russia's requirements in March that gas supplies be paid for in Russian rubles because it implied that the Russian government was prepared to use natural gas as a tool to sway EU politicians. Leading EU states declared in a united G7 declaration that they would not agree to a change to existing contracts that include foreign currencies. Since then, Russia has gradually decreased delivery to Europe, and in early September, it stopped all supply through the crucial pipeline Nord Stream 1 for an indefinite time. Around September 2022, Russia stopped supplying gas to several European nations including Poland, Bulgaria, the Netherlands, and Finland, alleging each one's failure to make ruble payments. The EU backed down from its stance on trading restrictions for gas in May, which forced several significant customers to eventually give in to Russian demands and pay in rubles to maintain supplies in the short term. However, by 2024, Germany aims to be largely independent of the Russian supply. Although the larger EU consumers have not yet been completely shut off, concerns have been raised by a considerable decrease in flows to Italy, France, and Germany. Gas supplies from Russia to Germany through the vital Nord Stream pipeline would be curtailed by around 60%, according to the state-owned Russian gas corporation Gazprom, who revealed the news in mid-June. They blamed German engineering giant Siemens' failure to supply the necessary tools for repairs. Since then, cutting supplies through Nord Stream has become a major problem, beginning with annual maintenance work that reduced flows to zero for 2 weeks, and then additional cuts that reduce flows to 20% of maximum capacity. After a few days of repairs, Gazprom declared at the beginning of September that Nord Stream will remain closed permanently, citing engine oil leaks as the cause. Another important route for the supply of Russian gas via Ukraine has also seen a downturn. Germany initially began the first of 3 steps of its national gas supply emergency plan in late March 2022, out of concern that Russia's requirement to collect payments from foreign importers in rubles may cause a halt in trading. As supplies were not yet in danger, the early warning stage was only declared as a precaution, according to the government at the time. Although starting the stage had few immediate repercussions for gas consumers, It helped provide the crisis's preparations with a more stable organizational and legal foundation. To keep track of events and formulate appropriate solutions, a crisis response team made up of officials from the Energy Ministry, the Network Agency, grid and storage operators, and gas retailers were established. Following supply cutbacks through Nord Stream 1 in mid-June, the second level of alert was initiated because this would disturb the equilibrium of the markets. Regular market trends and industry titans like chemical companies BASF have warned prices might climb massively as a result of decreased supplies through the offshore pipeline. Several businesses have already objected that they cannot bear a sharp increase in pricing. The third and final escalation level, the emergency stage, which is activated whenever a significant deterioration of the supply situation is thought to be near, is the only level where the government directly intervenes in physical distribution. At this point, the network agency BNetzA assumes the role of the so-called federal load retailer, thereby implementing gas rationing and taking over grid operators' allocation of energy based on pre-established standards. The BNetzA asks grid operators and industrial users to define their consumption levels and projected gas needs on the gas security platform to help determine how a rationing and shutdown sequence may appear. In the event of gas rationing, businesses with extremely high gas demands of more than 10 megawatt-hours per hour can be treated individually, whilst those consuming less should be addressed using the lawnmower method. Early in June, the government and a coalition of industry and civil society organizations began a push to encourage energy conservation among the populace to lessen reliance on Russian imports and hasten the switch to renewable energy sources. Reduced warm water use and lower heating temperatures were two of the most common suggestions for lowering domestic gas consumption, which made up nearly one-third of the overall demand in 2021. Germany was in discussions with Poland and Italy by the end of July, but as of now, only Denmark and Austria and their formal agreements for gas aids have been finalized. EU member states made the voluntary decision to reduce their gas use by 15% through the upcoming winter to mitigate the negative effects of a shortage. Ursula von der Leyen, President of the European Commission, has called for an immediate intervention in the power market to reduce rising costs. Leading German economic research institutions warn that cutting supplies would threaten to throw the German economy into a catastrophic recession in a combined review of the country's economic prospects in the energy crisis published in April. According to their research, a gas curtailment might bring down the GDP from the 2.7% predicted in 2022 to 1.9%. Before the start of Russia's invasion and the onset of the energy crisis, the researchers still predicted that the GDP would increase by 4.8% in autumn 2021. For 2023, a gas cut could even lead to economic contraction of more than 2%, while a scenario with continued gas trading predicts GDP growth of over 3%. By the end of next year, the cumulative GDP loss from ending gas supply might reach 220 billion euros, or around 6.5% of Germany's yearly GDP. We have come to the end of this video. What do you think about Russia's decision to cut off Germany and other European countries? Let us know what you think in the comment section below. Please give us a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button to see more videos like this.